Welcome to Disputed, the show where football's biggest stories spark the biggest arguments. I'm Nate, your moderator, and alongside me, as always, is G, analyst, Arsenal believer, and somehow more confident every single week.
Unlike you, Nate, I actually know ball.
That's exactly the kind of confidence she's been showing all season. And that confidence is exactly why this show exists. A lot has happened since our last episode. The Premier League season has ended. Arsenal are Premier League champions. G, big congrats. I know you believed in them all season, so big congrats on that one. West Ham are going down. Tottenham survived by inches. On the coaching front, Pep Guardiola is walking away from Manchester City. And the Champions League final is now just 2 days away, right? We got Thursday, Friday, 3 days away.
You know what? This might be the wildest end to a Premier League season we've ever seen. You know.
Okay, and trust me, we are disputing all of it. Let's talk about Arsenal. They won the Premier League. Let's set this set. It's Tuesday night, May 19th. Arsenal had already beaten Burnley 1-0 the night before. They are sitting at home on 82 points and need Manchester City to drop points against Bournemouth. They drew 1-1 at the Fatality Stadium. Arsenal are champions. First league title in 22 years. Gee, what was that moment like for you?
I'm going to be honest with you. I've been waiting for that moment for 3 seasons. When, we finished runners up 3 times in a row. 3, So when that Bournemouth result came through, it wasn't just relief for me. It was vindication. Vindication for Arteta, vindication for the players, and most especially vindication for every Arsenal fan who kept believing. And also, I would like to throw in even vindication for the board, the owners who stood by Arteta. The Cronkies have done it again.
Yeah. You have been one of the huge, one of the. You've been a huge fan of Arsenal all season, all your life, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
And you kept telling me all season that this was the year.
You know what? Because it was. But look at the numbers. 25 wins, 19 clean sheets. David Raya wins the Golden Glove again, 3 years in a row. They led the league for most of the season. It wasn't just luck. This was a side that was built to win it.
I will give you credit, and this is painful. Their defensive record was exceptional. Arteta has built something genuinely special. But I want to push back on one thing. They clinched the title watching Man City on television. Is that slightly underwhelming?
Underwhelming? What do you mean underwhelming? Who cares how you win it when the confetti falls? Nobody asked what channel you watched Bournemouth versus City on. Arsenal are champions of England. That's all that matters, being champions.
Fair point. And now, Mikel Arteta becomes the first Arsenal manager since Arsene Wenger to deliver a Premier League title. That's elite company.
And that tells you how special this is. This is the best Arsenal side we've seen in a generation, since the invisible.
Well, we'll see how that goes. We'll talk about that later for sure. Let's talk about the trophy celebrations. Tell me about it.
Oh my goodness. That was electric. All over the world, from Kenya to the US to Nigeria to, places that you would never know. It was celebration. The atmosphere, the celebration, the emotions. That's what football is supposed to be. That's why people fall in love with the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was indeed a celebration everywhere. A lot of new music releases just to support us now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
incredible. Before we move on, where does Arteta rank among the modern Premier League managers?
Well, Teta is now officially in the conversation. And if Arsenal goes on to win the Champions League, added to the Premier League title, then we're talking about one of the defining managerial seasons of the modern era.
If Arsenal wins the Champions League, that's a big statement. We're going to revisit that on Friday. We talk about it. But while Arsenal fans were celebrating, another London club was heading in the opposite direction. Let's talk about West Ham. West Ham United relegated for the first time in 14 years. Gee, how did it come to this for West Ham?
Honestly, I think I could only put it down to mismanagement. This was a club playing in Europe just a few years ago. It was a club with ambition, a club with resources, and somehow everything unraveled. The problem of West Ham wasn't just one match, it was instability all season. They had poor recruitment, decisions, constant pressure around the club, and too many points were dropped in matches that they should have won, really, in my opinion. They should have been able to control so many matches. Look at some of the teams that didn't get relegated, and you look at the players that West Ham actually have, and you wonder how they got to that point. By the time they beat Leeds on the final day, the damage had already been done.
And that's the brutal part. You and I, we watched the game together and they play really well. And if they had played like that, most of their games, they wouldn't even be close to where they were. They won on the final day, 3-0, did their job, and still went down.
That's football, really. Very cruel. Football is ruthless like that. Even though they won, was too late.
So now that they are relegated, I'm thinking about the financial implications are very massive. Potentially over £100 million lost through relegation. What happens now?
It's really sad because a lot of teams are going to like cherry pick, some of their best players. They would have to rebuild, and it won't be easy at all. Those players are already you could tell, from their last game, the players that people are already eyeing, and those players will leave. Contracts will become very difficult. Pressure will increase immediately because now the expectation becomes instant promotion back to the Premier League.
And again, to your point earlier, if they keep their players, 100% guarantee. But most of those players will probably get bought by other clubs. Okay. Meanwhile, Coventry City, Ipswich Town, and Hull City are coming up. Congrats to their fans out there. Now, Coventry City, it's gonna be fun. Like I missed those games, those Hull City games back in years ago when they were in the Premier League. So I'm happy they're back. Fresh stories, fresh pressure, fresh drama. I can't wait for that to happen next season. Now let's talk about your other neighbor, Tottenham Hotspur. They survived barely. 1-0 against Everton. Jao Polina with the goal. And Spurs avoided One of the most shocking relegations in Premier League history. Were you worried?
Worried for Tottenham, you mean?
Yes. Were you worried for them?
Well, I was worried. Seriously worried for them, you know, because the season Tottenham had was absolute chaos. They had managerial changes, they had injuries, poor performance every weekend. They had no consistency. There were moments this genuinely looked like they actually looked like a relegation side, in my opinion.
And had they gone down?
Man, it would have been catastrophic. For the fans, though, I wouldn't have been bothered. But then I would have missed the 6 points that, my team would get every year. So with that one on one side, I would have kind of been like, okay, maybe who will give me that 6 points, next season. You don't build $1 billion stadium like they have and play in the championship. It's just so funny. I hope with them being that close, and this is not the first time. Last season they were also close, but they were really not. They didn't go through the relegation battle because they had like a buffer in the point, so they actually were not in the relegation battle. This time around, they experienced it, escaping on the very last day. I hope now that they were so close to championship football that their attitude will change, not worrying about how their results affects Arsenal negatively, because that was the mindset really. I don't understand that lot. Their mindset was always about where are we in respect to Arsenal, instead of taking care of their own business and just win.
Interesting. But Roberto De Zerbi, he arrived and saved the season. So, given what he's done, what he did the last few matches, do we expect a significant improvement from Tottenham next season?
I think De Zerbi is a very good coach. I believe that he can improve them tactically. But Tottenham, they need more than tactics. They need an identity. They need some kind of leadership. They need standards. They only have to look, to their neighbors, Arsenal, to see what standards really is. And let's be honest, you know, survival for them was a relief. But was it success? No, it wasn't a success. Tottenham as a club, they have to be more ambitious. And, they're too expensive to ever be close to relegation battle or the relegation zone again.
Well, that was harsh, but probably fair. Now, let's move to the biggest managerial story in football. Pep Guardiola leaves Manchester City. City have confirmed it. He leaves the club this summer after 10 years in charge. 10 years, 20 trophies. Let that sink in for a moment. 20 trophies. 6 Premier League titles. 1 Champions League. Where does this rank among football's biggest managerial exits? What do you think, Jay?
Well, I'll give it to him, Pep. As much as I read some of my Man City, friends, Pep is actually a very, when you look at Pep, you know that he's a very, very intelligent person. When I have to rank him, I have to rank him near the very top. Pep didn't just dominate English football. He basically helped to change it. Every club in the league had to evolve because of what Pep was doing at Man City. Recruitment changed, standards changed. For nearly a decade, the Premier League has been chasing Man City. Now, the biggest question in football is simple. What does City look like without Pep Guardiola?
We'll find out very soon, next season. You know what? His farewell statement was, in my opinion, it felt very Pep. No drama, no controversy, just a manager deciding the timing felt right.
Okay, we'll find out. We know. Who knows? It kind of makes him different. He understood the cycle. He understood that the door was closing slightly. Arteta was coming up. The younger coach, the younger coaches, and yeah, it's true. Younger coaches are
There you
coming
go
in.
again with
You
Ateta.
have you have Zabi Alonso coming in also. He's looking around and thinking, oh, you know what? I better walk now when the ovation is high. And and honestly, living now probably protects his legacy. I know what I'm talking about.
Enzo Maresca reportedly steps in. Huge pressure. That's huge.
Impossible pressure. Impossible. You don't replace Pep Guardiola. You survive after him. That's completely different.
And there's some irony here. Arsenal finally win the league and Pep exits in the same season. But one question for you. Did Arsenal chase Pep out of the league? I'm just thinking.
You know what? I thought about throughout the season. I really wanted us because I kept telling you that there's this feeling for me every time I watched him during the season that I think this might be his last season. I just kept saying it. The way it was, even when we played them at the Wembley in the Carabao Cup final, the way it was looking around Wembley, almost like, oh, this might be my last time here and everything. I kept saying that this guy is giving me, some type of this is my last season energy. And I really, really wanted Arteta to win the title whilst Pep was still there. Because I know what the naysayers would have said. They would have said, oh yeah, of course he couldn't win it with Pep still being around. He only won it because Pep left. So I'm so happy that in the same season that Arteta won it, that Pep was still there to be second to Arteta. I think that's like the second time Pep is finishing behind Arteta. So for me, there's a new sheriff in town. And I'm not saying Arsenal fans, are not enjoying that timing, but I'm not saying that we did or we are just happy that it was there to see Arteta lift the title. And, it took his bow.
So there you have it. Arsenal are champions. West Ham are relegated. Tottenham survive by the narrowest of margins. And Pep Guardiola's Manchester City era is officially coming to an end.
You mean it's already come to an end? I'm sure he's had his party. He's left. He's
It's leaving
left.
the summer.
Pep.
A
Pep
few
has
months ago.
left the building. You know. But I heard he's still going to be around doing some kind of ambassadorial stuff for City. So I wish him all the best. It cost us too much ache. So I'm happy he's gone, and I wish him health. I wish him all the best. Honestly, this season had everything: the title drama, the relegation chaos, the managerial madness. If you only have to look at Tottenham to see what like the it was just like a revolving door, for Tottenham as a club, and it was the same with a lot of other teams in the league, and somehow the league still gave us a final twist.
Yeah, it was good. And we're not done yet. Because on Friday, we'll return with a full Champions League final review episode. Tactics, predictions, pressure points, legacy discussions, all of it.
And knowing you probably predict against Arsenal again. You don't learn.
I make objective football decisions. That's what I do.
No, you make emotional ones. You every time you talk about Arsenal, you put your Manchester United hat on.
Oh,
That is
why do
what
you
you
bring
do.
that up?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is you. People celebrating
Since you started it.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes. Bruno
Yes.
Fernandes assists like it's a
Record.
trophy.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but you brought it up. So okay. I'm just saying. And again, given where we started in Manchester United, finishing third, that was impressive. For
But
real.
why wouldn't you finish third? You were playing one game a week. One
You
game. If
know,
you didn't finish third,
yeah.
you should have
I
asked
would
why
love to
you're paying all
debate
these players.
Manchester United legacy against Arsenal one of these days. So that's something we need a table
Okay.
for
That's
different time.
story.
Yeah. Okay, we see. That's still the review. If you
Story.
enjoyed this episode of Disputed, make sure you like, subscribe, and drop your biggest takeaway from the Premier League season in the comments. For G, I'm Nate.
And remember, football is always better when it's disputed.
We'll see you on Friday. Thank you.
Bye.